strategic social media marketing, and we're going to be joined by our sponsor, Facebook. My name is Daniel Burstein. I'm the Director of Editorial Content here at MEC Labs. MEC Labs is the parent company for Marketing Sherpa as well as Marketing Experiments. Today I'm joined on the call by Zsuzsa Soldenhoff-Thorpe. She's a research manager at MEC Labs. She's going to be sharing 6 steps she put together to help you get going with your strategic social media marketing plans based on some research she's done with one of our research partners. Also have Tamara Rosenbaum on the call. She's a national account executive with Facebook. I'm sure you've heard of Facebook. I don't have to tell you who they are. Tamara's a national account executive at Facebook. She focuses on fashion and luxury retail. She consults with over 100 retailers on their overall marketing strategy and discusses how to best leverage Facebook holistically. We've also got that handsome man in the lower right is Todd Lebo, my boss. So I'm going to be saying a lot of nice things about him on this call. He's going to be sharing some of the research we've done here at MEC Labs into what CMOs are looking for from their social media marketing and how they're looking to measure their social media marketing. You can join the conversation by using #SherpaWebinar. I've already seen some people tweeting away. It gives us a great chance to look and see what your questions are, and also, frankly, not all of the wisdom resides in these 4 people that you're about to hear from. We'd also love to hear about your social media marketing strategies and what you've learned and how you can help your peers out. So definitely look at #SherpaWebinar to see what your peers are doing. So today I'm going to jump in pretty quickly. We've got a lot we want to talk about. But basically, we want to give you just an introductory look at how you can take a strategic approach to social media marketing. As Todd's going to tell you in just a moment, what we found is as social media is maturing, CMOs are looking to get more of a real ROI from their social media. No longer can we just experiment and throw some things on the wall and look at it as quote-unquote free. We're also going to set you up with 6 steps to get started with that strategic approach Zsuzsa is going to share. And then we're going to talk at a high level how you can calculate the ROI of social media marketing. So with that, let me hand it off to Todd. Todd's going to tell us about where some of this research comes from.
Well, thank you for that great introduction, Daniel. I could have scripted it better if I actually scripted it. And actually, I did want to say your mom did post to my Facebook, and she said you are a fine young man, and that everybody should know that. So thank you, Daniel. But it's a privilege to have everybody here today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. Let me quickly tell you a little bit about Marketing Sherpa and a little bit about how we got here today with sharing not only some great how-tos that you're going to hear, but also just some of the research that led up to this presentation. We are a research and training company. I actually looked over the last 3 years. We have surveyed over 7,545 marketers on social media to find out what they're doing in social media and how social media is working for them. Quite impressive. And also 524 research findings have come from those studies. So today we're going to really look at what we do. We do research studies, and then we take that research and analyze it and try to identify best practices. And from those best practices, we formulate methodologies that marketers can use in a repeatable process to improve their marketing, and we train those methodologies to marketers. So this year we focused on, when we looked at social media, we really focused on how marketers are monetizing social media. And with that, we have a lot of valuable information that came out of that research study. One was we really found that there's this social marketing maturity level. It really identified 3 phases of social marketing maturity. One is the trial. The first is the trial phase, really what we would call random acts of social media. There's really no process. They're just out there doing it, but don't really know what they're doing or why they're doing it and how it ties into their overall marketing. Then we saw a lot of marketers who are in this transition phase where they're starting to put some process, starting to figure some things out, and making repeatable processes, but they're still not quite there yet. And then finally we have the strategic phase, and this is where they have a very organized guidelines and performance so that they can improve what they're doing. And we found the connection of the people who are in this strategic phase, that is a direct contact, directly shows and they're able to prove ROI. So really where you're at in one of these 3 phases is directly proportional to your ability to ROI social media. So now we're going to look at specifically from the C level, because to get buy-in from the executives, and we have to get them to spend on social media so we can perform these tactics that we know and are starting to find out that works. So I guess you would ask me, so why are we looking at this young married couple here for our first research slide? Well, as I looked at the and started seeing some of the things that were happening, it would be of a young married couple who's, a lot of times we say that they're in their honeymoon phase of their marriage. And, during that honeymoon phase, everything's great. And, for example, this, young man may go home and take off his shoes and take off his socks, and they end up in the hallway or beside the bed. And it doesn't matter because you're in that honeymoon stage and everything is good. But then somewhere along the line, she looks over and she sees those socks and she's like, hey, why are there 30 socks on my floor and why aren't they in the hamper? And all of a sudden these questions come up. And so, as they leave this honeymoon stage, then they have to start answering these questions. And this is kind of where I think marketers are at with social media, where at the beginning, you just got into it because all the cool kids were doing it. But now, everybody's kind of looking and saying, the executive level is asking the questions that they typically ask for marketing. They were asking, how does this improve our marketing decision funnel? How do we ROI it? What are the strategic benefits of social media? And I think these are really good questions that marketers can ask. These are the questions that marketers are comfortable with. So this is an exciting phase, I think, in social media.
Basically, what you're saying, Todd, is we can no longer be sloppy with our social media.
Yeah, and I will not talk about my sources for that analogy. I did not talk to your wife long, but I think there is a representation that we really need to think about. And where does the research come in? Well, the research, as we looked at it, this comes from 740 CMOs who went through this study. And as they looked at priorities, they're now saying they're show me the money with social media. And they're saying the goal of social media is monetization. And how can I measure and get that ROI? How can I measure the ROI? So, achieving or increasing that measurable ROI for social media is now critical, especially as you see the maturity level. And as 63% that are in the strategic phase, this is the question that they're asking.
Let's get a sense now, you at the audience want to launch a quick poll and find out, how do you look at ROI in social marketing? Are you getting a measurable ROI from it, or on the other, other side of it, or do you just look at it as free and you just want to keep it that way? So this is a question that we asked through our research, but first we want to get a sense, from you, our audience, so we know where you are. Are you going to invest more? Are you excited about investing? You're going to invest heavily, or are you just kind of sticking your toe in the water and you're going to be conservative and you're not quite sure what kind of ROI you can get from social media as you would from other marketing practices? Justin, how do those poll results look?
We've got about 43%, and it looks like about 70% are talking about it could eventually produce ROI. Is where we're at right now, followed up by 16% is producing measurable ROI right now. So that's about 60% now.
You want to close that and show the?
Yeah, let's do that. With 62%.
Okay, 62% market. Let's see what they had to say. So really, what I like is there's only a small number at the bottom there that are really looking at social marketing as being absolutely free, and that's really good. That's something we want to talk about today, because social marketing is not free, right? Even if the social media platforms themselves, even if you're not advertising them per se, let's say you're just registered for them, so it seems free, you have to invest time, you have to invest resources, and you could be investing that in something else. So you got to make sure that what you're doing is actually driving revenue. But most people, it seems like, are in that second quadrant, that it's a promising tactic, it's going to produce ROI. They want to invest, but they want to be conservative about it. Let's take a look, Todd, at what some of our research showed. How does that map?
Sure. And actually, people think it's free. Maybe we should invite them to come here for an internship. We could use those people. But really, this really is trying to answer the question of how do I get my executive to invest in social media? And when we start looking at this is the first set of data. This is what you want from your executive. The executive who's saying that we're willing to invest in social media if it produces measurable ROI. Let's continue to invest in that tactic. And that's really where you want to get your executive to be, where they understand it, they get it, and you're giving them measurables. So it looks like that, a little bit of difference in, very similar actually to the results that we saw overall in our survey. So I think this group of marketers here is probably very representative of the over 3,000 that we surveyed in this last research study. And the reason for the excitement and the reason that we saw, 3 years ago when we did our first study, it was impossible to really ask this question of ROI and what the average ROI was. Now it's very possible, and actually the average for the marketers that we surveyed was 95% ROI, which is very impressive. And so we're starting to see that now it's more than just hopeful. Marketers, and what we're going to drill down is, and what I want to stress is, as we move forward with these tactics, is that we want to show at the end of this how to show that ROI.
Okay, excellent. So that's some of our marketing Sherpa research. I wanted to talk to Tamara in just 1 second, but first I see a question coming through on #Sherpa webinar. People are asking about the replay. And just so you know, we're going to distribute the replay through our inbound marketing newsletter. You can go to marketingsherpa.com, click on newsletters, sign up for our inbound marketing newsletter, and you can get the replay of this presentation. But now that we've talked about some of our marketing Sherpa research, Tamara, she talks to business level leaders every day about their social marketing challenges with her role with Facebook. So Tamara, what are they telling you about their need for social marketing ROI?
Hi everyone, and thanks for that great introduction, by the way. And I hear this echoed all the time with a lot of my partners, is really wanting to understand how can we better measure the ROI of social. And it's not an immediate measurable something that's immediately measurable. It's something that over time we see lift. And so I wanted to show everybody a good example of a brand that they're looking at Facebook very holistically and using all of the parts and being a brand that's more social by design. And what Sephora, who we're using as an example here, is doing is they use many different components of Facebook, many of them being free, such as our platform plugins and the page itself, to use Facebook as a method for conversation with their consumers through the brand. And by doing that, they're able to really see higher results, higher sales in stores and through their website. So a quote directly from Julie Bornstein, their SVP of Direct Marketing, has said that they've seen really great results and they've seen incredible growth in their fan base, which is directly correlated to hundreds of % and correlated traffic on their site and sales as well. And so what they do is through their Facebook page, they have exclusive deals for their fans only, and they run different specials to those fans. So they see now, if you look at their page, they've got about 1.5 million connections. That's 1.5 people that have raised their hand and said, I'm interested in Sephora. I'm interested in what you have to say. And so they're continually marketing to those consumers with specials, driving them with coupons to come in store and purchase or on site and purchase. They're also using the Facebook platform plugins on their website to drive more traffic to their site, and they're really using Facebook more holistically. But because of that, they're seeing huge sales and lift directly as a direct result of all of those efforts.
All right, thank you, Tamara. So I think you see we're driving towards one main point here through our research, that we're setting up what we're going to do with the rest of this webinar. In essence, you value what you pay for, and frankly, you value and earn ROI on what you pay for. So there's a great tweet actually in the Sherpa webinar hashtag from Kathy Patterson. She said, she looks at phase one, that honeymoon phase. She says, she calls it, look, Mom, I have 100 friends. And boy, doesn't that feel good? Everyone wants to be your friend. Everyone's following you. My gosh, you're so influential. Your brand is so popular. Then you do show me the money, ROI. We are totally on board. What we're trying to get, what we're about to talk about now, we're not trying to pay more money for anything when we say what you pay for. Okay, we're not selling you. What we want to get you to realize is that you are really right now paying for these efforts, whether it's through your time, which I don't know about you, but most of us marketers are extremely busy. That time is extremely valuable. You could be doing something else with that time, or any investments you might have made. So What we're going to try to teach you with the time we have remaining is at a very introductory level for those getting started on social media. And if you're already on social media, how you can optimize your current efforts. How do you take that strategic approach as you would with any other marketing discipline? And Jusha's going to step in and give us a few steps she's put together to help you take that strategic approach.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Hello, everyone. So yes, consumers are talking about your brand on social media already, and you need the strategy to actually engage in these conversations, because ignoring them or jumping in without a strategy, without a plan, is actually a missed opportunity. Social media strategy consists of 3 elements: the goal, the resources, and a schedule. So define your goal first. Ask yourself what you hope to achieve, whether it's generating leads, obtaining sales, brand awareness, or buzz, and then determine who would be responsible for social media management, whether it's you or your employee. And then set up a schedule and set regularly, preferably daily or weekly time to manage your social media. And without such schedule, it's easy to forget. You might keep postponing or miss some opportunities. And social media optimization is not limited to marketing and brand building. It actually increasingly, businesses are integrating their social media participation as part of their knowledge management strategy. And additionally, CMO is often implemented to foster a community of the associated sites. These 6 steps are the foundation of our closed-loop lead management system, and let's break them down. First, perform an analysis of your competitive environment on social media. See what others are doing, see what's working for them, what's not working, and what content gets the most feedback, what's interesting, and what appeals to people. See what people are looking for and respond to. Identify opportunities such as special offer, great promotion you can plug in to grab that attention. For example, a giveaway or interesting, engaging contest, they almost always work. And monitor what others are already saying about your brand, about similar products and industry. Identify the sources and engage in the conversation. So after the analysis, determine which social media platforms to really focus on. And in order to do so, segment and tell your audience. Find out where they hang out, tailor that content to that specific audience. And then map out a architecture for your social media marketing. Talk to your customers, give them great content, and again, set daily time slots for social media activities. You perform the competitive analysis. You already know more or less which social media platforms are for you. Now set up your profiles, and I won't be showing you now how to set up those profiles. And of course, every social media platform has pretty easy instructions and a help center. But I just wanted to touch on what happens when you actually don't have a strategy, when you just jump into all possible social media, and this looks pretty messy. And this is exactly what happens without any marketing architecture. You just have random acts of marketing. What is your conversion funnel? What are you trying to achieve by bringing people to a landing page, and how you drive visitors from social media to your website and vice versa? You should develop a social media marketing architecture for all those elements to harmonize rather than distract. If you are, for example, sending an e-blast and the main goal is for people to click to your landing page, but you have a Twitter and Facebook icon and a message to join, it could actually distract away from the funnel path that you said before. It could act like a competing call to action. So, and social media is actually great to trigger discussions, to spread brand awareness, and then send people already knowing your brand to the site. But if, for example, an already motivated visitor is ready to purchase, to sign up, or whatever your goal is, and gets distracted by a tweet roll on that very page at the end of the funnel, he navigates away, and we might lose him. So direct the traffic flow properly in and out of your house. And there's about 150 million users on Facebook in US only, and half of them log into Facebook on a daily basis. So I also wanted to get Tamara's perspective on how to successfully set up social profile on Facebook to reach these users.
Thank you. So Facebook, we recently changed our page model to reflect the way that profiles are also set up for you. What we've always thought, and now we're able to really express on with pages, is that the page is really meant to be the voice for your brand. It's a source for self-expression as your brand, and it's the place that you are communicating with your consumers on a daily or bi-daily, or excuse me, several times a week basis. And this is the place where they can actually feel like they're connected to you and really personify your brand. So it's important to look at the page and be very strategic about the way that you're putting yourself together. So at the top, there's 5 images that allow you to showcase who you are. They're going to pull from the most 5 recent images that are uploaded to the page. And we've seen some really cool executions from different brands, either showcasing products. For fashion, it's showcasing different models. For CPG brands, it's really cool things done with the actual products or the branding itself, so maybe even spelling out something across the 5 images. So you can really get creative with it and really express who you are as a brand. The status update hasn't changed very much, but being very wary of how you're publishing to your consumer. And this is the voice for your brand, and it's also, it interacts very similar to how a regular profile does. So making sure that you're being cognizant of how often you're publishing and what you're saying. And the way that you're engaging with your consumers, making sure that you're inciting engagement. So asking questions, posting pictures, doing things that's very easy for your consumers to want to respond. Those things are all very important.
Okay, thanks, Tamara. I want to take a quick question and then jump more into what Juju's got to teach. But we got a question from @KateKansas. She said, great info for B2C. Any suggestions for smaller, lesser-known brands or B2B companies? If anyone else has any other suggestions, I'd like them to jump in too. But you're right about to see an example from Juju. When you talk about a lesser-known company or lesser-known brand, there is no lesser-known brand than a brand that didn't exist. And so the example you're about to see next, I think, is going to be a perfect example for anyone who's on B2B as well, because you might feel if you've got a small B2B brand, or maybe you have a smaller audience, or they're less interested in engaging with you. But again, this is a brand where they went from absolutely zero, absolutely no brand at all, no company that existed, and they got some good engagement. But one other thing I'd like you to think about as we're going through all this, don't look at it just because you see a B2C example if this only applies to B2C. These are some greater principles that you can draw for your own pages. And so, for example, for B2B, again, as Tamara talked about engagement, you just want to find out how you can engage with your audience, right? I'm just back from Optimization Summit that we had in Atlanta. We had a great speaker, Marcus Sheridan. He's doing the sales line. And again, he was talking about a B2C page. He sells pools. And I learned something from his presentation, because one thing he does is when he blogs or when he conducts social media, one of the main things he's doing, the first thing he said he does is think about the 50 questions he gets asked most commonly in his business. And I'm sure B2C marketers have this challenge, but B2B marketers as well. What are the 50 most common questions you have? And start as you produce content for your social media and answer those questions, because those are the things that your customers and potential customers likely want to know. So I don't know if anyone had any other thoughts, or Juju, if you want to jump into step 4, did you have some thoughts?
Oh, I thought that was a great example from the summit, and one thing I thought was very interesting was the fact that he was not afraid to talk about things that a lot of times marketers won't talk about, like price, comparison to other competitors, all these things, because the discussions are happening. So why not be a part of it or actually lead the discussion? So I thought that was very interesting too. Find out what people are talking about and don't be afraid to join in the conversation.
That's a great point. And as you just said in step 1 part of that, perform that competitive analysis. The interesting thing about social media is it's not like, I started my career in the traditional world where you choose to run a print advertisement or you don't. You choose to run a TV ad or you don't. You don't choose to participate in social media or you don't. Social media activity can be going on around your brand, whether you like to or not. I saw one of the tweets coming through #SharePlayWebinar while Jude was talking about competitive analysis. Is so like keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. So follow what your competitors are doing, but also follow what you're doing as well. Not just your own activities that you're putting out there into the world, but what others are talking about your brand on social media. So, well, with that, let's step 4 and tell us how to build that community.
Okay, thank you. So obviously we have already set up the social media profiles, and now we have to build the community. from zero. So there's several ways, with the first one being obviously invite anyone you know. So send them a friendly note, ask them to follow you. We have to have someone, we can't have an empty profile and start inviting strangers. So first have some groups there. And then depending on your budget, try to reach out to your audience through pay-per-click ads and trigger the following this way. And once you have a good base, and once you have some great content, the word of mouth should follow. I'll be showing some examples on next slide. Mark your presence. Comment on related blogs, just as Daniel said, comment on different discussions, forums, and walls. And don't just sell, as you might be reported as spam or simply lose people. Show off your knowledge and tempt with more, inviting back to your profile. Make people come back to your profile. Create an attractive offer, promotion, or contest. Those spread virally, and just give people a reason to join and a reason to tell their friends about it. And that's the beauty of social media. If people join a fan page or a group only if it identifies them, gives them value or relates to their passion or interest that they can share or they can even show off. And that's basically what social media is about. The graph below on this slide is the actual example of one of our partners that Daniel mentioned, with a Facebook community that grew from 0 to 2,600 monthly active users within just 3.5 months. And we currently have over 1,400 fans.
And that wasn't just at the Facebook community group, right? I mean, there was no brand there before. They had 0 following, right?
Totally new company, yes, on the market. So this slide presents a Facebook ad promoting this particular Facebook page of our partner. Always start with many variations of the image, of the title, of the copy, and test various targeting, as well as general ads versus ads using specific keywords, and then narrow them down to the best performing ones. And this actual example shows different copy and targeting versions. And the two first ads at the top are almost identical, with the one on the left being very general and the one on the right. You can see a little call to action at the very end, which says join us on Facebook now. And this ad outperforms the other one by 71%. Next ad on this slide had several versions with exactly the same copy, the same title and image, but targeting different status. And one of them was targeting just engaged. The one on the right was, which performed actually 50% better. The one on the left, I'm sorry, was targeting relationship and engaged. So the one with narrower target won by over almost 50%. So that also social reach was the highest for this ad, and social reach is number of people who saw this ad. A certain number of their friends are really liking this page, and that's pretty obvious. And we are really, more tempted to join something if we already see our friends and specific names liking it, belonging already to it. And this especially identifies promoting anything that already exists on Facebook, such as Facebook page, group, or application. And as with every pay-per-click model, testing is the key. So both campaigns here represent similar concepts, but they really perform differently depending on the keywords used as well as the status that we targeted. And the lovely couple kissing here on the pier on the left had way more clicks when targeting wider audience with both engaged and in relationship status. Whereas the second campaign, the one on the right, had ads targeting the narrower, just engaged audience and performed 80% better. So you can't really tell, and you have to keep testing because each campaign and even each ad within the campaign could really perform totally different. So there's no rule, unfortunately, that we can just write and hand to you. And both of these campaigns also had ads targeting different keywords, and their performance ranged depending on these keywords or depending on, some of them were actually had very general targeting without using keywords, and some of them were using totally different keywords. And all of them perform totally different, each of them individually. So you really have to explore various keywords and the categories and test what really works for your product. I was also testing images, same content, and the same title ads to determine which ones work best. And it might be pretty obvious that real photos with emotional appeal are most likely to generate higher click-through rate and grab that attention and tend to click. Unlike unfamiliar logos, because logos people can't really recognize, or stock images are really less likely to create that appeal. And using specific keywords, thus narrowing the audience again, could do wonders or lower your click-through rate. So again, you just have to test both and find out what's working in particular for your product. Here you can see a couple examples out of many, many ads and how a simple switch within their copy or title could really determine the performance.
So before we go, go on. Yeah, more.
Yes, I had more. I had one more slide with examples. So I was testing a copy to find. I was testing a copy of those ads to find out what seems to be the greatest value for people. And as much as I thought short copy would get the highest score, more wording seemed to get the clicks in this case, in this particular case. So different campaign or even ads could generate totally different results. And again, test, and keep testing. Yes, Daniel.
Okay, great. Thanks, Judy. Before we get into step 5, I've got a few questions from our audience that I want to answer. And it's funny because on hashtag Sherpa webinar, when you started talking about the importance of, obviously step 3 is setting up your social media platform. It's funny what a wide range of experience we have here, because I saw people tweeting on hashtag Sherpa webinar, oh no, they're not going to go through and walk us through how to set up the separate one. Yeah, because people were worried we're going to show you how to set up a social media platform. But then on the other hand, we got a question from Stephanie, Tamara, sorry, maybe you can help me with this. Where can I find info about setting up a Facebook company page? So obviously people still have some of those basic questions. Sarah, you have any good ideas?
Sure. If you check out facebook.com/pages, it will give you some really good examples of different pages, some of the most popular ones. So you'll see ranges from Family Guy to Obama to Facebook's own page. And so that was examples of where to start from. And then just on the right-hand side, there's a button that says Create a Page. So it's really simple. If you press Create a Page, it will take you through the head and create your own. And definitely recommend going through and looking at some of the examples of brands and companies in an identical industry as yours to see and model your strategy after where you're going to start from.
That's helpful, because I look at myself as kind of a mixture between Obama and Family Guy, so I might be able to learn from that. Also, I want to know, as Judy was going through the ads, Brittany was asking, and you might know this, Cameron, what is the best for Facebook ads, pay-per-click or pay-per-impression?
It really depends on what your goals are and what you're looking to do, and if you're first starting out or not. If your immediate goals are you want fans now, and or looking for leads or trying to drive traffic directly off site, CPC is where you're going to want to what you're going to want to do. Mainly because you're paying for every person who clicks and goes off site or clicks the like button and connects to you. CPM is really good for just mass brand campaigns. If you're looking to increase brand awareness, purchase intent, just get lots more exposure, I would recommend CPM. Or if you've done some testing with CPC ads and see that you have a strong click-through rate, you're getting a good ROI on that ad, then go ahead and switch to CPM on that specific ad unit because you know that it's performing well. But if you are paying for impressions and you don't know whether or not that ad is a good one, you could potentially be wasting your money by getting exposure but not necessarily getting the end result that you want.
Okay, thanks, Tamara. We have a question from Paydrag who want to know about any tips on how to get response from consumers. Judy is going to handle that in just one moment. I want to get through one more question on hashtag Sherpa webinar at Trillia Lotman asks, what's the best way to get people on your page from other social media platforms? Example, Twitter, Facebook, or from your website or from Facebook ads. Thanks, Judy.
Yeah, so don't be actually promote one or the other social media channel on other social media channels. They should not compete with each other. But also include, you can see all the communication from different companies. They always have those little icon with a link and invitation to Facebook page. You can also promote even your Facebook page right on Facebook. So go to some other communities related with what you are what your product or service is and promote it. So there's never, don't be spammy. Promote latest updates. Promote if you have some offer or great thing going on currently or some contest. Keep promoting it on all social media channels, but you don't have to repeat all over. You just, they don't really compete with each other. So just keep promoting it and include the logo and link to your Facebook page everywhere you can.
Okay, well, now let's move into step 5, engage and grow. That sounds interesting.
Okay, so you basically, competitive analysis. You already picked the social media channel to see your presence on. Your profile, you already build a community, and what happens next? So the engagement is really the key in this case, and it's really important continuity of your efforts on social media. You can, your social media platforms have to be active. You have to be visible there. So there's several ways to grow this engagement, to trigger and then grow this engagement. Audit your existing content. You don't have to create new content all the time. Either use the content you already have, search for some great content from trusted sources, such as promote articles that already exist somewhere, some great news, images, or videos. Your social media profiles have to be active, and so make sure there are regular posts and updates that are really valuable to your consumers, to who you are after. And then think of your social media channels as an informal website. I really always like thinking that way, and feed your fans or the members with latest industry-related news, funny or interesting stories and photos, and camera mentioned already. That's the content that really picks up great, especially at the beginning. But don't be too salesy. Do inject special offers, deals, or information about your product and service, but don't do that too often. I get those questions a lot, and I would say once a week, maybe having daily updates on, and this is particularly Facebook and Twitter, having daily updates, inject your own information about your own product or offer just once a week or so. And then give reason to visit daily. It's actually so much easier grabbing attention on social media than with a website, since your customers are already, they are on Facebook, they are on Twitter, they are on LinkedIn. So social media profiles are dynamic, and they have to provide constant value. And then interact. Make sure there's a two-way conversation. You don't want to just keep the flow of constant updates without any kind of conversation. And your engagement is valued as well. So don't leave one comment or question without an answer. Posts, tweets, or updates should involve users as well in some way in order to stimulate this discussion. So I'll have a couple examples here, a couple slides of the same Facebook page that we just talked about, the startup company. So numbers here are not giant. I don't have 1,000 comments or 7,000 likes within 10 minutes. But I think what we have here is still huge for a startup company that not so many people, or really people don't really know. And we just started this Facebook page a few months ago. This particular example is showing how a simple fan page can reduce your customer service costs. As you can see, we can the company is actually responding to questions, concerns, or solving problems right on the page publicly. The best way to stimulate tons of likes and comments is to provide fun and entertaining content. And I already mentioned it, but I will probably mention another 17 times during this presentation, because that's what social media essentially is about: great content and fun content. Amen. So again, videos, photos, and perhaps polls are most likely to get activity going. And it's also easy. If you have your own personal Facebook profile, you do the same thing on each. It's so easy to upload, actually take a photo right from your computer and upload it there. The same with video. Either use your own content again or third-party content. And then I always claim that a Facebook page has not reached its potential, even though it might have thousands of fans, of likes already, unless fans start asking questions and seek advice from either the company itself or other fans, and I love it. And it actually has started recently with this particular partner, and the feel of the camaraderie and being part of a community is really essential for the trust of the whole community. So I was really happy to see those comments coming and people asking other people and us about certain, problems or questions they have. And then Facebook fan page is really perfect place for potential and existing clients to express a positive comments, and that's what perhaps most of you, all of you, would like to see on your fan page. All of your fans and the commentators' friends can see it, so it's really essential to get those going. But keep in mind that negative comments, they should never be removed unless they're very inappropriate or spammy, but address them publicly, address them right there. And the last example here, by actually asking questions and especially asking personal opinion, more likes and comments could be generated. And this is just a silly example of posting a very simple screenshot of a wedding dress and asking if it's elegant and nice or too simple, and within just 12 minutes or so we got several comments and likes.
Well, as we go into step 6, we've got some questions, Justin. If you can go on to the next slide, they're actually kind of perfect, because as you talk about that engagement, that peer interaction that goes on in social media, it's great because it's actually going on hashtag Sherpa webinar right now. And one question we got regarding Facebook posts, you say post often. How often is too often or too little? And Betsy also asked, what should be your frequency of posts on Facebook? Bailey? Well, I know, Tamara, we were talking about this earlier. You looked at this as one of the top 10 mistakes people make, the quality versus quantity of posts. You want to talk more about that?
Definitely, and definitely something I wanted to bring up as well is there's often some confusion around that. How much do you post? How often? When? And I think a lot of it is very relevant to how many connections do you have on your page and how active are your consumers, and if you let them post on your wall or not. Is there some brands that have some sensitivity around their fans posting on the wall as opposed to just responding to status updates? I think it's very important to see this page as a profile for your brand. And one thing that I like to note is, a lot of us who are on Facebook oftentimes have that one friend that posts way too often. Maybe they play a game, or they just are always updating where they are, and to that point, you get to a point where you just don't care anymore. And maybe they make some sort of big announcement, but you miss it because everything that they have to say is devalued because they post all the time. Almost like the boy who cried wolf, right? That's kind of the same thing that happens here. If you overpost on your page, people will start to begin to ignore what you say and devalue it. So it's very important. I recommend to my partners, I would say to post no more than once a day, if not, 5 times a week or so. And if you have a larger fan base, maybe you have a few million, then you can get away with posting twice a day, maybe once in the early morning and once later in the evening to space it out, because you may have international connections that they might not see your post at certain times. But at the same time, we have our targeted post capabilities for that too that you should be taking advantage of. So definitely one of the top 10 mistakes is overposting, as it can sometimes lead to attrition in fans, which you definitely don't want.
I think, Zhuja, you saw some common mistakes you wanted to talk about as well on this list.
Yes, I have, believe me. That's my favorite part, I think, things to avoid. So obviously everyone knows social media is hot nowadays, but being present on most available social media channels is really the major mistake, and not having enough time and resources to manage all of them, you really lose the focus, and it's impossible to divide your efforts. So instead, try to focus on 2, 3, or 4 of the social media platforms that you identified that's where your audience is. And then the quality versus quantity as well relates to one of those mistakes, too many fans and likes. And that might sound a little weird because everyone would love to have huge following, but believe it or not, when analyzing competitive environments for our partners throughout social media, I've noticed many of those really major players having great following, huge numbers, and walls full of spam and some random posting. So you really would like to avoid that. You would like to be at the point that you are able to monitor and manage, and you can answer all the questions. And really, what Tamara said before is, it depends if those fans, if your likes are active or not. So I would rather have 200 very active fans than several thousands of just numbers, pure numbers. So another mistake is, again, the constant flow of updates without even testing and seeing if people, what's the feedback? Do people respond? Do people like it? Okay, I'll post some more. I got a new blog post. Let me post it. Constant updates without stimulating the two-way discussion that I mentioned about are really one of those mistakes. So in order to try and strengthen the bonds you have with your customers, show interest in their opinions and encourage those comments. And again, just like with bringing up children, consistency plays an important role in social media. And very often, different people are managing social media for one company, and their style differs. And one of the most common examples is using we versus I in different posts. And it shows really no real person behind the profile. So it's causing the confusion. And I'll stop trusting a company like this. And then another mistake that I would like to touch on is the lack of measuring the feedback. And Facebook have great insights if it comes to measuring the feedback of each post. So really see what people like and continue using the same content that gets great feedback, as opposed to just throwing whatever you have randomly. So you can't suppose your customers would like something unless you actually measure and test and see when you're losing people.
I think that's a great example due to the parenting example, because to that lack of consistency. One thing I noticed is companies love starting on Facebook platforms, but they're not as good at continuously, consistently keeping going with those social media platforms. It reminds me of my daughter when she was like 3 or 4 years old. She was going to be a concert violinist, and for 3 whole lessons she was going to be a concert violinist. And we bought a violin, she was going to be a concert violinist, and she is not a concert violinist today. So keep that in mind. As we talk about the strategic approach you take, we talked more about this in the beginning. If you're going to engage with the social media platform, make sure you're really all in on it and that you can invest the resources in it. And part of that is understanding the resources, which Todd is going to talk about more in 1 minute. There's one more mistake on there now I want to get Tamara to talk about, because to me it's one of my biggest pet peeves, and that's selling too much. What do you think about selling too much, Tamara?
I think it's bad. Selling too much. So we've been speaking a lot about using the page as a voice for your brand, and to that, your consumers are connecting to you because they want to feel attached to you. They want to follow what's going on. They don't want to be sold to. If they wanted to be sold to, they would subscribe to your email database, or they'd be checking out what you've got on your website right now. They're here to get the most updates, the hippest things, even special programs, discounts, or products directly for fans only, but not here to be sold to all the time. And I find that those partners who are constantly saying, hey, we have new products on the site, or constantly posting editorial all the time, start to lose fans as well, because users just don't want to see those things all the time. Now, it's great to add those types of things in. If you have a great special going on your site, mention it, but don't mention it every single day. Mention it once and let it be at that. But definitely avoid the overselling, but making sure that you're mixing up your posts with lots of different content pieces or questions and ways to engage consumers, and not just pigeonholing yourself into selling.
Thanks a lot, Tamara. Speaking of selling too much, we got a comment on #SherpaWebinar. That's a lot of free buzz for 1-800 registry. They're in every example. So let's move on to 1-800-Flowers example from Facebook. What did you learn from this, Tamara?
Well, we're just covering all the 1-800s today, aren't we? So with 1-800-Flowers, they've been a really great partner of ours, and one thing that I urge everybody on this call is to do is test and test often, and try as many things as you can, because that's how you're going to see a good result. And that's exactly what 1-800-Flowers did. They seized the moment. and they tested out as many things as they could for Valentine's Day and really saw great results behind it. So what 800 Flowers has done is they really have worked with Facebook and our platform to build a brand that's now social by design. So if you were to go onto their website, and this is something that they launched during Valentine's Day, is they implemented our like button. Our like button's a free product, and essentially what it is it's a tiny little button on every single product or category, and I can, as a user, like that product, and once I do, a story then goes out into my news feed and tells all of my friends that I liked it. So it's a much more lightweight way of sharing. So if I went on to the flower site, for instance, and I liked the Life is Lemonade bouquet, it would say Tamara Rosenbaum likes the Life is Lemonade bouquet, and my friends could click on that, and it would take me directly to 800 Flowers and to that landing page for that specific product. So it's a huge source of traffic, not just for this site, but for many companies using it. And so they definitely utilize that for Valentine's Day and help to influence decisions, because a consumer can go to that product and they can see how many people have liked it. So if it's more popular, it's almost like a rating system. It's a validation that, yes, okay, this is a good product, people have liked it, I'm more likely to buy it. But to make it even more influential, if my friends have liked that product and I happen to be shopping on 800 Flowers site, I can now see my friend's face from their profile directly correlated with the products that they've liked. So we know that users and consumers are, in 55% of them are influenced by what their friends are buying. So they were really able to leverage this during Valentine's Day and also Mother's Day. And currently you can go on the site and check it out. Additionally, they really use the Facebook ads platform to drive more sales for them. So we have a new sponsored stories ad unit that blasts different activities that are more natural on Facebook platform, and it takes those stories, puts them in an ad unit, and blasts it out to your friends. So they were able to actually triple their fan base because of that. And last, they worked with our credits program. And for those of you who are not familiar with what credits is, it's a virtual currency that our users can buy or earn to upgrade themselves in different games on Facebook, such as Farmville and whatnot. So they used a motivator that if you were to buy on 800 Flowers, they would give you a certain amount of credit. And that resulted in over 4,000 transactions directly from that ad unit that they promoted that promotion. So they've definitely done a really good job, and I would urge anybody on the call to check out their website and their Facebook page, as it's definitely something that we can all learn from, whether or not you're in the flowers business.
Thanks, Tamara. Now that we have a sense for how companies are integrating social media into their business, Todd, if you can, we've only got a few minutes remaining, but give us a sense of how CMOs are integrating these metrics into their business analytics and the way they report on the social media results.
Sure, Daniel, I'd love to do that. First, when we think about ROI, we've got to remember it's the financial value returned on every dollar invested. So, the simple equation is the value gained from the investment minus the cost of the investment divided by the cost of the investment. And this quote that we have from a CMO is pretty insightful from their perspective. So now we need to go from a marketer to thinking of how a marketer conveys the value of a program to the executives. So that's a very key transition that we need to make as marketers. And this, CMO is saying that about 10% of social media he can directly attribute to the bottom line, but how versus 90%, and what am I going to do about this 90%? This is true, but what I want to do is show a little bit of how you can measure that 10% and include the cost of the 90 whenever you're looking at your social. We look here, this is a very simple illustration of thinking about, you want to think about three different things. One is the metrics that you can measure, and with social media there's a lot of things that can be measured, sentiments, awareness, voice, there's a lot of followers, there's a lot of things you can measure, and then there's also these things we want to think about that should be measured, leads and sales, reduction in cost. And you look at everything you could and should measure, and in between there's this aspect of metrics that really matter. And what I mean by that is these are metrics that make sense to the CMO. We had, a couple years ago where marketers were trying to move away from ROI and talk about return on engagement or return on innovation, but all this doesn't really mean anything to the CMO when they're thinking ROI. You can see in this next slide, I won't spend too much time as we're coming to the top of the hour, but here are all things you can measure. And a lot of it's things like likes and fans and followers, sentiment and awareness. And these are useful, but they don't necessarily help us measure ROI. As we blow up and look at some things we should, if you B2C marketers especially, there's so many easy ways that we can actually show the value of sales generated by social. B2B marketers, you can definitely track this. Most B2B marketers, you have a very clear number of how much a lead is worth to you. So showing the leads you're receiving from social or that are enhanced by social, that's a very easy calculation you can do. And many times we overlook the cost. With the cost savings that we have through social. So don't forget that, because that's another way that you can ROI social. And there's really two different levels you can look at. One is earned and paid, and I think I like to almost think about it from the aspect of for search marketers, SEO versus PPC. SEO is an investment in staff and getting your ranking up through staff as compared to the PPC where you're paying for the ads. And both these are in play when we're looking at social, but both can be used to show ROI.
Thanks, Todd and Tamara. We've only got just about a minute or two remaining. If you can briefly go through these two great examples we have about ROI on Facebook.
No problem. And one thing that I wanted to note that Todd actually mentioned is that CMOs often don't realize how much added value that you're getting from Facebook ads. And one thing I just wanted to quickly note is anytime somebody interacts with an ad on Facebook and presses the like button, an organic story is created that's then distributed to everybody's friends. So while you might be paying for a certain amount of impressions or clicks, you're getting a lot more additional organic impressions that's generated from these ad units. And that sometimes is not as measurable, but it really brings the cost down that people sometimes don't really even realize. So additionally, all of our ads have a social element to them. So if you have a Facebook page and maybe the user who's seeing your ad is seeing that they have friends, if they have friends connected to your page, their names will automatically be pulled into the ad unit, like we can see here in Heineken. On the left, there's an ad that has no social context. On the right, there is. And so that's my friends' names automatically being associated with your brand. And that does a lot for brand recall, but especially purchase intent. And this is even if these users are not connecting to you, but the fact that they're exposed to this social element gives a lift in 4x in purchase intent, which we can actually see in the next slide through Diageo. Diageo, they ran a Nielsen home scan study with us, and they were able to see that for every $1 that they spent on social media advertising through Facebook, they get a $5 ROI on for every single dollar spent. So there's definitely a huge value in having that social context and seeing that a friend's name is now associated with your brand.
Thank you, Tamara. Thank you, Zsuzsa. Thank you, Todd. I've been Daniel Burstyn. We are out of time, unfortunately, but we just want to let you know one final slide. If you're interested in more research to help you learn about what CMOs are doing and to help you understand some top tactics and platforms and integration and social CRM, take a look at our social marketing benchmark report. The fine marketers here, Todd Lebo and Justin, have put together a special $100 discount for you at facebook100.marketingsherpa.com. It's got a lot more of our research in there that might help you measure and predict your CMOs, your social media success. So thank you, everyone, and thank Facebook for sponsoring this webinar, and thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.